How frustrating. You close the month, look at your P&L and are delighted to see how much profit you make, only to find that 2 weeks later, that number's changed. It's gone down. It's gone down a lot. And without any warning, without any explanation. If this has ever happened to you, then check out this video on why it happens and what you need to do to stop it from happening ever again. It's really frustrating when you can't rely on your figures. If you find that your profit figure is bouncing about month after month, then that is an uncomfortable place to be. And it's uncomfortable because A, you don't know what the true performance of the business is. B, you can't hold your team accountable to the numbers. And C, you can't prevent those issues that keep on building because you are catching them too late in the day. You want to be able to catch issues in good time. And if you don't have that information quickly when you need it, then how are you ever going to do that? So why does this happen? Well, in my experience, there are 4 key reasons and I want to share them with you on this video. The first reason is that there is no formal close down process. Now, what your finance function should have in place is a process or a checklist of things that need to do to be able to bring the month to a close. That checklist should have everything that that finance function needs to be able to get all of the relevant information, to make all of the right adjustments, to chase up all of the right people, to ensure that the figures that go into the system are the right figures, and that there are important updates to the balance sheet that come through to make sure that when you are presented with that P&L, it is right. If you do not have a close down process, or if the close down process is not being used, then that is something that you're going to need to address. If you find this content useful and want to see more of it, then please like, follow, subscribe or connect depending on where you are watching. Next is no hard close date. In an ideal world, you should have an agreed upon date where your management information is presented to you. That gives the finance function a deadline to work towards. It helps them understand what the expectation is. You should sit down with your finance function and agree a specific date that works for you. The average is somewhere between 10 and 20 days after the previous month. And whatever that date is, you need to make sure that it works for your business, it works for the complexity of your business and the nature of your business. If you have that date in place, then the expectation is that management information will be accurate and delivered on that specific date. That creates accountability, it creates focus, and it ensures that checklist or process is done properly and in full before that information is delivered to you, which should eliminate the surprises. No escalation policy. So look, every now and then you are going to get surprises. If you have the process in place and the deadline, most of those surprises should be dealt with. In the event of something coming up that nobody can foresee, there needs to be an escalation process. And what I mean by that is there should be a threshold. Under the threshold, what should happen is that the adjustments should be made, but they should be communicated to you after they have been made. So for example, anything under £10,000 can go into the system, but the head of finance needs to notify you as soon as that change has happened. Anything above the threshold needs a conversation. The head of finance should come to you and say, look, we've got a big invoice here that we hadn't expected. We need to put it into the accounts. And then you should work with your head of finance to understand the best place to put it. You might choose to put it in the month that it belongs to, or you might choose an alternative treatment or put it in the existing month. But no surprises is really important, and having an escalation policy at least keeps you in the know or gives you the opportunity to decide what the right treatment is. And finally, the system needs to be locked down. In an ideal world, your system would be locked after the ideal close date. Now that should prevent team members from just going in and adding invoices. The head of finance should be the person that has the authorization to unlock that system, and then they should follow the escalation rule that I just mentioned to you. That way you don't get all of these nasty surprises. There are some other minor issues that most businesses experience, things like poor communication between ops and sales, invoicing not being chased down properly, expenses being submitted late, supplier invoices not being chased properly. Those are also things that come up, but that should all be addressed in the first point that I raised, which is by having a proper checklist or close down process. Some of those things should be incorporated into that so that finance can chase the relevant stakeholders. You don't want your profit figures to move. You want to have confidence that when the figures are delivered to you, they are right, they are accurate, they've gone through a degree of rigor and structure and process, and then you can hold your team members accountable to those numbers. You can identify the problems in good time, and you can have a proper understanding of what your true trading position is. If your numbers keep on moving, take this video, sit down with your finance function and get this sorted. If you have an FD in place and these things aren't working the way that they need to, then that is a challenge and you need to make sure that that FD gets all over it. Sometimes businesses have finance managers or really good bookkeepers, but people that don't understand how to get all of these structures in place and don't have the experience to get it working the way that it needs to. In that case, you might need to sit down with an external FD, a fractional FD. You might need to talk to your accountant, but come up with a proper plan, get all of this in place and get the right level of support depending on the level of experience within your finance function. Don't just give this video to your finance manager and hope that they magic it all together. Give them the support that they need. Work with your FD to get this all in place. Work with your external accountants. And I promise you, you will eliminate all of these horrible surprises and you'll know what's going on when you get that pack on the agreed deadline. See you next time on Mind Your Own Business.